Hello and thank you for joining me here at Why the Book Wins. My name is Laura and today I am celebrating hitting 10,000 subscribers by doing a Q&A video. So first off, thank you to everybody who has subscribed, who has liked, who has commented, who has shared, the people who hit the notification bell and who watch my videos regularly. It means a lot to me, so thank you so much. And yeah, thank you to everybody who submitted questions for this Q&A video. And I'm just going to get right into the questions. And by the way, I would also love to hear your answers to these questions. So go ahead and answer these questions yourself down below in the comments. And the very first question is, are there any books that you wish would get turned into a movie? So yes. First of all, East of Eden has been adapted, but I would love to see that adapted into a mini series or a limited series, I guess is what you call them these days. Because the movie with James Dean, I like the movie for what it is, but when compared to the book, I mean, come on, we need an 8-hour version of this book in order to capture everything about it. And to be fair, there has been a mini series that was made with, I forget her name, Jane Seymour. So they have done a mini series of this before, but I want another one. I want a new version. So I would love to see that. Also Black Dahlia, I talked about how I would love to see that readapted. But then also Ottessa Moshfegh, Paul Tremblay, Jeff Vandermeer, they have all had one of their books adapted. Same with Grady Hendrix. And I want to see more adaptations from all of them. Sorry, my lighting is so weird. Ever since we moved in April, I feel like in this new house, I'm having a hard time getting consistent lighting that doesn't make my face look splotchy or something, and then clouds are covering the sun. But anyway, this is kind of more of a relaxed video anyway, where I'm just kind of chatting, So back to adaptation. So yeah, Ottessa Moshfegh, Paul Tremblay, Jeff Vandermeer, Grady Hendrix, they've all had one of their books adapted, and I want to see more from all of them. Specifically, Grady Hendrix, I would love to see How to Sell a Haunted House. Ottessa Moshfegh, Lapvona would make sense to adapt because it has the most story going on. But I did hear that Yorgos Lanthimos is in the process of making My Year of Rest and Relaxation. So it's in the very early stages, but I have heard that. And Paul Tremblay, I did just read Horror Movie, which would make a good horror movie. I'm sure they would make their changes because it is such a unique book. But yeah, I would love to see more of his books adapted too. I have heard Head Full of Ghosts is also in the works, so we have that to look forward to. But then I did gather a list of books and I realized all of these are horror books. So Mexican Gothic, would love to see this. It was so popular a few years ago, so I'm surprised it never started the process of an adaptation, but yeah, I would love to see this one. The Last House on Needless Street, this book is fantastic. 5 stars. If you have not read this, you should. I would be curious to see how they adapt this because I feel like it would be kind of difficult in certain ways, but that's also why I want to see it adapted because I'm assuming they would make some changes to make it work for the screen, and I'm very curious just how they would go about that. And Bunny, this is another one. I'm also surprised, why have they not started the talk of adapting this because it was so popular a few years ago. And this one isn't a 5-star read in my opinion, but I did really like it, and I just think it would make a great movie, so I would love to see this one. Then I already mentioned How to Sell a Haunted House, but also The Fisherman, and this is another one where, again, I'm pretty sure they would make some changes because this is a story within a story, and the inner story gets so bizarre and so weird, and so I feel like they wouldn't adapt it exactly like the book, and so I'm curious what they would do with it. And I'm fine with adaptations making changes as long as they stay true to the message and the character motivations and the themes, but yeah, so those are some that I would like to see adapted. And then, are you planning on doing any more reviews on memoirs? So as far as celebrity memoirs go, I did recently do the Michael Richards one. That was the first celebrity memoir I have read since last year when I did that tier ranking video. And I guess that might have been just my first memoir in general. So yeah, I feel like I used to read more of those, but I think after that tier ranking video, I just kind of needed a break. So that's why I hadn't read one in a while. But yeah, I definitely plan on doing more videos as I read them. I only make dedicated videos if it is a new release. So next time a celebrity that interests me releases a memoir, I will read it. But yeah, and then the celebrity tier ranking video, I wouldn't do another like that until I've read enough, and that will be a while from now. So the answer is yes, but it's kind of infrequent and it's kind of random because it just depends on when a celebrity I'm interested in writes a book. 8 Pages Deep says, congrats, Laura. Thank you. And then, is there any language you wish you were fluent in to read in the original text? So I have always wanted to be fluent in French, and I did take a couple French classes. I think I took 2 in college, but the second one, honestly, I might have just stopped going. So I guess 1.5 classes in college. But yeah, and there's plenty of French authors. So I would love to read in French. And then where is a place you would like to travel / move, either in the States or abroad? So I would love to live in Santa Monica. We lived there a few years ago and I absolutely loved it, but it is so expensive. So that's why we didn't stay. But I would love to be able to actually live there. And then as far as traveling, I don't think I would want to live abroad, but I've been to Europe, but I would like to go back and visit some countries we didn't get to. I want to go to Asia, specifically Taiwan, and I would like to visit Australia as well. And Africa, I think parts of Africa, like the Serengeti, I think would be so cool to see. If you could direct a movie with an original source material, what would it be? So I actually don't think I would ever want to direct a movie. I would love to work in film, but not as a director. And honestly, ever since becoming a YouTuber, learning how to edit, I really enjoy. And I'm a very amateur editor. I'm not saying what I'm doing here is anything incredible, but I would love to learn more. And if I one day worked on editing a movie, that would be so cool. So if anything, that is what I would want to do, is become like a professional editor. But yeah, as far as like what movie I would want to edit, I don't really know. So yeah, I don't have much of an answer for that one. And outside of books, do you have any other collections? I collect a mug from every place we go. Specifically, like Starbucks has their, mugs for specific locations. So I do buy those. And then just mugs in general. When we travel, I'll buy a mug from where we go. But aside from that, I can't think of any other specific kind of collection that I have. So I guess, yeah, books are definitely the main thing. And then out of the countless adaptations, what is the worst or close to adaptation of a book or short story you have ever seen? So some of my least favorite adaptations, the Will Smith I Am Legend, I do not like that movie. I saw it when it came out, and then I watched it again in preparation for my book versus movie video, and I love the book. The movie, I don't plan on ever watching that again. I just really don't like it. And then, Knock at the Cabin, adaptation of Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay. That one was good up until the ending, and then they totally changed the ending, and kind of the message of the book was so different. So that one was a pretty bad adaptation as far as the ending goes, because that really just kind of ruined it. And then the David Lynch Dune, I know that movie has its fans, but that was a bad adaptation. It has its moments that are very unique and very memorable, but it was a bad adaptation. Some of it, yes, can be blamed on the studios and the weird pacing they had going on, but then the ending was just so stupid and again, very cheesy. The way they portrayed the Baron, did they really have to be so extreme with that? Because it was disgusting. And then next question, what is your favorite wine and movie pairing? So actually, I don't drink wine. I don't drink alcohol at all, so I have no answer to this. Even when I did drink alcohol, I have never been into wine. So I don't have an answer, but I don't drink because I became a distance runner. And so there would be times where maybe I would be tempted to drink, but then I would be like, well, I need to wake up early tomorrow to do my 16-mile run. And I don't want the alcohol messing with my sleep or messing with my body during the run. And so that was a big reason as to why I don't drink, is because I care about running too much. But then also another big reason is that I have a loved one who has struggled with alcohol addiction. And so just seeing that dark side of it just makes me uninterested in alcohol. But again, even when I did drink though, alcohol wasn't even my favorite mind-altering substance. There were other things I preferred anyway, so it was very easy for me to give it up. And then Pensive Whiskers, I have 2. How long does it take you to edit videos? So I would say that for every 10 minutes of video, specifically for my book versus movie videos, and those are the main type of video I make, but for every 10 minutes, that is about 90 minutes worth of editing. So my videos end up being about 30 minutes. So that means I spend 4.5 to 5 hours editing. My Dune Part 2 video was over 50 minutes and I tracked that one. It took me nearly 8 hours to edit that. So yeah, that's why I try to keep them in the 30-minute range, because it is pretty time consuming. I know other styles of editing, the way other people do their videos, I'm sure it takes them 5 hours just for 10 minutes because it's much more intensive. But for the way I edit, yeah, it's about 90 minutes for every 10 minutes that you see? And then do you read books differently when you know you will make a video on it? So yeah, I definitely pay more attention. I take notes, I highlight things. I'll highlight even if I'm not doing a video, but for the most part, yeah, I take notes, I make more highlights, and then I prefer not to do just an audiobook when it's one I'm doing an episode for, because audiobooks, it's hard to take notes when you're in the middle of an audiobook and you're driving or something. So if I am listening to it, I like to listen and read. That way I can like go back and read what I listened to and make the right notes or whatever. Whereas yeah, if I'm just reading a book for fun, again, I don't take any notes when it's just for fun. And then if I'm listening to it as an audiobook, I'm more relaxed as I listen to it, and I'm maybe not being so intense about it. And then what was the first book that while and after you read it, made you realize you love reading? So I have always loved reading. When I was younger, I have older siblings, and when I was younger, I loved having my sisters read to me. I loved having my parents read to me. And then as a kid, like the first chapter books I read, Chronicles of Narnia, Laura Ingalls Wilder, those like Treehouse Library books I really loved too. And Charlotte's Web, Stuart Little, Trumpet of the Swan, those ones I really loved too. So those are some like books from my formative reading years that I really loved. I've just loved reading all throughout my life. Congrats, Laura, from Ink to Film. Can you introduce us to your pets and tell them we say hi? So Ringo, I featured him on Practical Magic recently, as well as a Gilmore Girls video I made. But he is actually not here right now because we're getting ready to go out of town. And so he is already with someone else right now. But I will have a picture of him. He is a very sweet bunny. And then this is Cookie and Casper, our 2 dogs. I should have given them a bath. They're kind of dirty right now. But Cookie is 7, Casper is 4, and they are just like the cutest little puppies. So yeah, these are our 2 dogs. And then this is our cat. She is the newest addition to our family. She has a variety of nicknames, but what we call her most often is just Kitty. And yeah, she's about 6 months old. I just woke her up from a nap, but she is hypoallergenic. My husband and I are both allergic to cats, but so far, she also likes to lick our hands and stuff. I've never had a cat do that, but yeah, she is hypoallergenic, and so far it has worked with our allergies, and she's just so sweet. And I have had a variety of other pets. As a kid, we had a lot of different pets, but I've also had reptiles in the past, but then we moved a number of times, and moving with reptiles can be a lot of work with all of their tanks, So I do miss having reptiles, but unfortunately I had to rehome them when we moved out of state. And then do you ever get into a reading slump? And if so, what do you do to overcome it? So I definitely get into reading slumps, but I just power through because, I try not to force myself to read, right? Because what's the point of reading if you're not enjoying it? And if it's not for school, then like, why force yourself? But I will admit there have been books where I just force myself to read it. And then also if I'm struggling with a book, I will switch to the audiobook version, and that kind of helps me get through until I'm at a point where I'm more invested and more interested. But also if I'm in a reading slump, sometimes I will just read like the first few pages of a book and then just toss it aside if it doesn't grab me. So I just go through so many books reading the first few pages until I find one that actually interests me. So that's something else I will do. But probably what I do the most frequently is where I'll just switch to an audiobook, and then I just listen to it until I get to a point where I'm interested in actually reading a book again. And then do you rewatch some movies the same way you reread a book? So yes, I do. However, since starting Why the Book Wins, I don't rewatch movies as much as I used to because a lot of my time is taken up watching movies that I need to cover for my YouTube channel and reading the books. And so I used to rewatch movies more often, but lately I still do on occasion, but yeah, not as much as I used to. And then this question is, in the lauded Pride and Prejudice debate, do you have a preference between the 1995 and the 2005 movies? So yes, I do have a preference, but take it with a grain of salt because I have never read the book. To be honest, I have never read any Jane Austen, but I do prefer the 95 movie. I have seen that at least twice and I absolutely loved it. The 2005 movie, I saw that shortly after it came out on DVD, but honestly, I don't remember too much about it, so it didn't make much of an impression on me, whereas the 95 movie with Colin Firth, yeah, I definitely prefer that one. But I should give the 2005 another watch, to be fair, but yeah, so that's my thoughts. Can you talk about your rabbit or any other pets you have? I've always imagined rabbits would be like a more skittish cat, but I have never known anyone with one as a pet. So I've already introduced, talked about my pets. But yeah, rabbits usually are very skittish. And either one, they're like impossible to pick up, or two, if you do pick them up, after a few seconds, they just hop out of your arms. So Ringo, he is the most relaxed bunny I have ever come across. I don't know why he is the way he is, but yeah, he's a very rare rabbit in that sense. I also keep him indoors versus keeping him outdoors, so that might have an effect too. But I know there's other people who have indoor bunnies who just don't like to be held and who are not as chill as Ringo is. So yeah, your thought that they are a more skittish cat is very accurate, but Ringo, he's a special one. And then next up, can you name your top 10 favorite books? So yeah, I wrote these out ahead of time because I didn't want my mind to go blank as soon as I saw this question. So I wrote them down and I will just read off my list. And these are just like some of my favorites. I'm sure if you ask me at another point, I would pick different ones. But as of right now, the ones I thought of: Jane Eyre, Sometimes a Great Notion, The Color Purple, Misery by Stephen King, East of Eden, Frankenstein, The Picture of Dorian Gray, We Were the Mulvaneys, Beloved, and Gone Girl. Again, at another point, I would probably change that list, but those are just the ones I came up with. And conversely, can you name the book which you think is the most overrated? So I made my Verity book rant review video before people were talking crap about Colleen Hoover. And when I made that video, the reason I made it was because nobody was talking negatively about this book. There was like one other YouTuber who mentioned it in a reading wrap up that she didn't like it. But aside from that, people were saying good things about it. And so I was just like, this book is so dumb. It's so poorly written. It's so derivative, and it's just so stupid. And so that is why I made that book rant review video, because I thought the book was so overrated. However, at this point, a lot of people hate on Colleen Hoover. So now Verity wouldn't be called overrated because so many people admit it is stupid. But at the time that I read it and made that video, it was definitely overrated. And by the way, I made that video in February, and then it was like later that year, like the end of that year, when I saw more people making Colleen Hoover rant review videos. But yeah, so at the time, that was definitely overrated. Which, by the way, It Ends With Us comes out in August, and I will definitely be covering that one. And I'm actually really excited to see that movie. I read the book last year, and it was better than Verity, but I certainly had a lot of issues with it. But I'm very curious to see what they do with the adaptation. And then another one that I still don't like is A Man Called Ova. People love that one. They think it's like so sweet and it makes them cry. And I did not like it. I did not like the character of Ova. And I know the point is that you don't like him at the start, but then you learn his story and then you feel for him and you understand him and blah, blah, blah. I did not like it. I thought it was cheesy and stupid. I shouldn't be so harsh on that one because I know a lot of people do love it. So I'm sorry if you love that one, but I feel like it's very overrated. And then who are your favorite YouTubers? So there's a variety of YouTubers that I like, but the ones I want to talk about are the ones where I'll watch whatever they put out, even if it's a topic that generally wouldn't interest me, but I like them and like their personality and their vibe and their approach. And so I'll watch whatever they put out for the most part. So first of all, Michelle Khare, I have been watching her since like 2017. I came across her when she ran a marathon for BuzzFeed. And then from there, I have been a loyal fan of her channel. She is incredible. And her videos so often make me cry because just their editing and the storytelling is just amazing. And she's just so impressive as a person and these challenges she does. So if you have never watched her channel, you definitely should. She has over 4 million subscribers, but she deserves to have so many more. Like she should have 100 million because her videos are that good. But then also Sarah from Possessed by Horror. She has 2 channels, but Possessed by Horror is the one she posts on most frequently. And I love her content. I will watch whatever video she puts out because I just love, again, just like her vibe and her personality. Also the sound of her voice I really like, and she's been YouTubing for over 10 years, so she definitely knows what she's doing and how to do it. And then Fish Jelly Film Reviews, they release so many videos because they review every movie they watch, and they watch a lot. So I don't watch all of their videos, but I do watch a lot of them. And they also get into spoilers, which I love. So many review channels don't talk spoilers, and I wish they would. I want to hear your spoiler thoughts. And so Fish Jelly does get into spoilers. And then I just love Nick and Joseph, like their personalities, and they're very entertaining. While also Nick, he's just so knowledgeable about film. It's very impressive. And then they're also just very honest too. And then Ink to Film is a podcast and a YouTube channel who I have collaborated with, and I love their content. The only time I don't watch their video is if it's a book or movie that I might at one point cover. I don't watch it because I don't want it spoiled and I don't want their influence in my head while I'm reading the book, you know? But for the most part, I watch or listen to all of their episodes and they're fantastic. And then Cover to Credits is not a YouTube channel. They are just a podcast. But again, fantastic. Absolutely loved them. Highly recommend. And then Man Carrying Thing and Woman Carrying Man, I both really like. Women Carrying Man, they do film reviews, which again, they get into spoilers, which I love. But then Man Carrying Thing, he just makes like short form funny videos with some book content mixed in. So yeah, highly recommend that. And then Mariana from Impression Blend, she has a fantastic channel, and her editing and her approach and the way she speaks, like she comes across so professional and eloquent, and I always love what she has to say about movies. She used to make book videos too, and that's actually how I originally found her, was I was searching about The Southern Reach by Jeff Vandermeer back in 2021, and I came across a video she had made, and yeah, I've been a dedicated viewer ever since. And then this person has a few questions. So what are some movies you enjoy that are not based off of any books? So lately, adaptations are the main movie I watch, like 98% of the time, 95% of the time, I'm watching adaptations. But I was trying to think like, oh man, like what movies aren't based on books that I like? But I did come up with some. So Kill Bill 1 and 2. Those are my favorite Quentin Tarantino movies, I would say, most likely. I just love both of those. Fiddler on the Roof, Singing in the Rain, Flight with Denzel Washington. This movie is so underrated. I like never hear anyone talking about it, but it is fantastic. Interstellar, of course, is incredible. Mad Max Fury Road, I know is a popular one to like right now, but it's just a perfect movie. I rewatched it in preparation for seeing Furiosa, and it made me want to do a video about why Mad Max Fury Road is such an amazing movie, but I didn't end up doing it, but yeah, it's fantastic. And then also, I love Roman Holiday and Sabrina, both starring Audrey Hepburn. I also love Marilyn Monroe, and some favorites are Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, Bus Stop, and The Misfits. I also love The Sting with Robert Redford and Paul Newman, and then Drag Me to Hell is a Sam Raimi, like, horror, tongue-in-cheek kind of comedy that I absolutely love. The ending, it's just so fantastic. So I love that one. And then Moonlight, I will die on this hill, however that phrase goes. Moonlight deserved Best Picture over La La Land, and I will die on this hill. So many people make such a fuss saying La La Land should have won, but no, Moonlight is just such an amazing movie. It's so fantastic. And then A Place Between the Pines is really good too. Prisoners by Denis Villeneuve. Birdman, fantastic, Michael Keaton. Civil War is a recent one that is pretty divisive, but I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I saw it in theaters. I have not watched it since, but I want to. And yeah, I just thought it was amazing. And then Anatomy of a Fall in May, December are 2 releases from last year that 5 stars. I absolutely loved both of those. And then are there any books you feel would be better suited for TV rather than a movie? So I, for the most part, would much rather prefer a book to be adapted into a movie, but some exceptions would be East of Eden and the Black Dahlia, which I mentioned earlier, Count of Monte Cristo, which is being adapted into a show. And yeah, only I feel like ones that are like sagas and like these epic family sagas, those are the ones that should be a TV show. We Were the Mulvaneys, that has been adapted into a made-for-TV movie, but I feel like that one could be a really good TV show as well. Sometimes a Great Notion, that's another like epic family story that also would be a good show. Even LA Confidential, I know that movie is so good, but it's very different from the book. So if they could do the LA Quartet, making each book a limited series, I would love that. And what is a fun fact about you that does not involve books and movies? So I am a distance runner, which I touched on earlier. And at this point, I have ran 10 full marathons, which is pretty exciting. And then also I have moved around a lot. Ever since I was 5 years old, I've moved many times, lived in many states, many cities. And throughout my 4 years of high school, I went to 5 different high schools, which I do not recommend. I did not love moving that much. But yeah, it's definitely something unique about me. And then is there anybody or YouTuber you might want to do a crossover with in the future? So I have worked with 8 Pages Deep, who I also recommend. He puts so much work and research and editing. He puts so much time into his video. So highly recommend you check him out. I've collaborated with him and Ink to Film, who I also recommend. But yeah, all of the other YouTubers I mentioned, I would love to collaborate with any one of them. Some of them I just haven't reached out to because I'm intimidated. Also, to be totally honest, when I'm making videos with a guest, it's much more time consuming and there's just so much more work that goes into it for a variety of reasons. So it's also just more work. So even though I would love to collaborate or at least meet, right? Like Sarah, I would just love to meet her. Which I'm going to sound so creepy saying that if she's watching this, but yeah, I have family in Sacramento and that's where she lives. I grew up in Sacramento. And so yeah, I'm like, man, one of these days when I'm in Sacramento, it would just be so cool to like hit her up and hang out and get a coffee or something, you know? Or fish jelly. I would love to go to LA and just meet up with them and just hang out, you know? But anyway, if any of the YouTubers I mentioned are watching this video, then why don't you shoot me a DM and maybe we can figure something out. And then I love your bookshelf. Where did you get it? Is the wallpaper on the wall behind the shelf. So I do have a bookshelf tour video that I did a few months ago. We have moved since then, but my bookshelves are the same. All of my books are the same. I haven't gotten new books in a while. But yeah, and the wallpaper. So this is a rental. And so this wallpaper I have attached with thumbtacks because I didn't want the adhesive taking paint off when I remove it. And then now this way I can reuse the wallpaper again too. So yes, this is wallpaper, but it is not actually attached to the wall with the adhesive. And the bookshelves are just from Amazon, so I will link to them as well as the bookshelf tour video I did. And yeah, that wraps it up for my Q&A. Again, thank you all for your support. It means so much to me. And thank you for submitting these questions. And again, answer these questions yourself. I would love to hear what your answers are to some of these. But yeah, thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.